Testing, testing. Okay, still 2 more minutes. Oh, okay, it's time to begin. And as usual, I'll start with any questions. Again, any practical questions relating to this meditation. And I see one hand has gone up here.
So for the individuals that we are sending our compassion to during the meditation, can they be the people that passed away?
Oh, that's a very good question, and it reminds me of something I should have mentioned. In doing the loving kindness meditation, they should always be people who are presently alive. One can do a kind of like a sharing or dedication of merit to relatives or friends who have passed away. Like when you do meritorious deeds, then you offer up the merits to them with a mind of loving kindness. But when you're doing the actual meditation of loving kindness, you want to be directing it to people who are presently alive because you're wishing them to be well and happy in their present embodiment.
Thank you.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that when doing the instructions. I think I see Gita in the back.
Thank you, Bhante, for teaching us. Bhante, I have a question on metta meditation. I think you also sort of answered it previously, but it's about like when you're thinking about someone that's hostile towards you, and you're sending them metta, sometimes we swell up with tears in our eyes because you're feeling so much compassion for them. And then you don't know how to help them, but all you can do is send them metta because we know that we're all stuck in samsara. So is it okay to have tears rolling down your eyes because you're feeling that emotion?
I'd say the ideal is not to be overwhelmed by that kind of emotional reaction when doing the loving kindness meditation. It should be an uplifting, joyful, and happy meditation. So even if the person is first there's a distinction between the metta and karuna. Karuna is compassion. So when we're doing this, what we're doing today is the metta, which is loving kindness, wishing the person to be well, happy, and safe. But if the person, say, is in dire situation, undergoing suffering, or is doing, a somewhat helpless condition, but still you don't let yourself be overwhelmed by their situation. You just go on continuing to send those thoughts of goodwill, wishing them to be well and happy. And that should bring happiness to your own mind. One shouldn't let, of course, it's possible that those feelings of sorrow or helplessness might come into the mind, but you just let them go and just think, my task is to send thoughts of goodwill to that person.
Yes, Bhante, I felt this a lot when we did last time we had the retreat. You showed those little girls that were like either Malaysian or Southeast Asian. You showed a picture of 3 little girls and how they're in dire straits being used for prostitution. And they were like 8 and 10-year-olds.
That was
so sad.
Yeah, first that was a different Brahmavihara. That was when doing the compassion. That was the karuna, compassion.
Yes.
And even when doing the compassion meditation, I showed those pictures. There were the 3 orphans from Syria, the 3 girls in Cambodia.
3 girls in Cambodia, yeah.
Yeah. So you send compassion to them, and I have to say, sometimes you get so overwhelmed by a feeling of
helplessness.
The heart gets shaken by that sense of concern for them.
Yeah.
But one has to go on just, in that case, generating the wish, may they be free from suffering, free from their difficulties. And naturally those thoughts come up, those feelings come up, but one just doesn't try not to let oneself get carried away by the emotion.
Thank you, Bhante.
Oh, was that Stephen?
Yes, thank you, Bhante. I have, I guess, a follow-up question about metta and what seems like it's a very close neighbor, compassion. And it seems very easy for one to slide into the other, especially when you were talking earlier about generating metta for a difficult person, and we try to recall their circumstances to encourage our practice.
Yeah.
And my question is, how much of a division needs there be between these two, and why are they even sort of separated out?
Yeah, they do seem, there's like almost like a blending of one into the other, but there is a distinction based on the particular focus in each meditation. So in the metta meditation, you're just focusing upon the wish for the person, the target of the metta, for that person to be well, happy, and safe. You're not actually focusing on their circumstances of suffering in the way that sort of moves the heart to compassion. Whereas in doing the compassion meditation, you focus on the suffering aspect of that person's situation in order to let the heart be shaken by a kind of resonance with their suffering. But again, even though the heart resonates with their suffering and gets shaken by their suffering, well, I use the expression shaken by the suffering, but one shouldn't let the mind sort of be overwhelmed and crushed by witnessing their suffering.
But why should we try to delineate or separate those two feelings?
They're just distinct in terms of the mode of focus, in terms of the focus. One is on the characteristic of metta is wishing well-being and happiness, and the focus of karuna, compassion, is, say, resonating with the suffering of those who are in suffering.
Okay, thank you.
That's the most I could say, or the best I can do. Okay, we have one over here. Yeah, somebody here. Oh, I see.
Thank you for teaching, Bhante. As a beginner, I have a simple question. These 2 days, my feet are very sore.
The feet are
very sore. That means my feet is killing me.
You mean the legs?
Yeah, the legs.
The legs.
Yeah. So as a beginner, how to improve this situation? And after this class, how do we know we make a progress in the meditation practice? These two questions. Thank you.
Okay, the first one, if you do the regular daily meditation, you'll find that little by little, the legs get more accustomed to sitting in a cross-legged position, and then it'll become more natural, and then you can even gradually extend the length of the sitting. So it's really just a matter of getting accustomed to it. On this retreat, like if you're sitting with the legs one way and then the pain comes up, you can feel free to readjust the legs. You could even stand up for a minute or so, or you could go sit on the bench with your legs down for a sitting or a session.
Thank you.
Yeah, and as for how do you progress in the meditation, in a way, it's almost like how do you get your legs to get more accustomed to the sitting position? You just keep on doing it every day. Oh yeah, I should have taken some, yeah. I've been narrowly focused on the people present in the room. Okay, Samangi.
Yes. Hello, Bhante. Thank you. I have a question about when you are doing metta meditation, instructing metta meditation, you say, think about the heart region, something to that effect.
Think about the
Heart, not the mind.
yeah.
What does that, can you clarify a little bit? I'm kind of confused. I don't know where the feelings and the thinking come from. So I don't know what that means. Thank you.
Okay. What I say is that when we start the meditation, so I say that you let sort of the mindfulness go to this region around the heart. And when I check into myself, then I could feel this, what I call this soft, gentle, kind of warm feeling there. And I feel when I'm doing the metta meditation, I feel the metta coming from that region. I don't know what other people think. We use sort of mental formulations, so you could say that is going on in the mind, and we think that's taking place in the brain. So maybe the thought formations are coming in the brain. May so-and-so be well, may they be happy, may they be safe. But once the metta starts rolling, I feel it coming from the region of the heart. Does anybody have a similar feeling? Okay, so I see a number of heads here nodding in agreement. Yeah, so you don't have to make a very strong, deliberate effort to put the mind in the region of the heart. But I think as you feel the metta start to arise, you'll feel it coming from the heart, almost like bubbling up from the heart.
Okay. Metaphorically, so you're saying.
What was that?
You're saying the heart starts reacting a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
But saying, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and it's not the physical heart, but it's
That's
in
what I'm,
Buddhism, we call it the heart base. Maybe it's what the yoga system calls the heart chakra.
okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And this is it Patty? Yeah, Patty O'Neill.
Hello, Bhante.
Hello.
Thank you so much for your teachings and your time. I have a question. I would like to incorporate metta into my daily practice. And I was wondering how long I should keep the same person in rotation.
In the rotation.
Yeah. Should I just do it for like a month straight if I'm doing it every day?
Oh, I see. I see. In that sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry.
This is something that I don't have like fixed rules You keep them 14 days, and on the 15th day, you have to change. But you play around with it and see what you feel comfortable with.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I say to keep the same person for a certain extended period. Don't start like changing every few days, but keep, I say, at least a week, 2 weeks.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
There's
Thank
no-
you so much.
You just have to sort of experiment for yourself.
Okay.
Okay, first we'll take one gentleman in the middle, in the back.
Thank you, Bhante, for these superlative teachings. When we were doing the metta meditation just before lunch, you asked us to expand our metta to the entire country,
I asked,
to expand our loving kindness to the entire, everybody in the country.
yeah,
And so I had trouble. I forced myself to exclude the gun manufacturers, the politicians who spew hatred, and such other deplorables, as well as those who enjoy seeing people suffer.
yeah.
How does one handle that?
Yeah, so, okay, so you're wishing them to be well and happy and safe in a wholesome way. Like if you want to, if we weren't bound to this formula, then I would say you could use like formulations like, may they turn away from the unwholesome and turn to the wholesome. May they develop a mind of love and compassion for all the citizens of this country. You know, you could use some elaborations like that in order to remove that aversion or that resistance.
Thank you.
Yeah, so like I said, when dealing with the disagreeable or hostile person, you could use some extra mental reflections to help overcome the aversion towards that person. Similarly, when doing this on a larger scale, you can use those kinds of reflections like, may they see the light of kindness and compassion, may they give up their commitment to violence and so forth. Okay, there's one person ahead of you.
I have a quick question with regard to the duration of the meditation. In the retreat, you organized for a 40-minute duration.
Yeah.
So when you practice on your own, I'm just curious, it's mostly for beginners. When you practice this on your own, mostly for beginners, is there any thought process into what is the right duration, given the fact that sitting down, your leg hurts, you got to keep changing. I'm doing that constantly here. Louder. So sitting down, your leg hurts as a beginner.
Yeah.
So here I'm constantly changing positions.
Yeah.
So when you start practicing, do you have any guidelines on what is the right amount of time? Is it 40 minutes or can it be shorter?
You mean for a regular meditation
Yeah.
session?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to sort of work out according to your own situation. I'd say don't make it less than 20 minutes, and then maybe try to build up to 30 minutes. Then if you can get to 40 minutes, it's sort of people who have a working life, say up to 40 minutes is good.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'll take just one more question over here. Then we'll have to get back to the practice.
Thank you, Bhante. I found that my mind was very unsettling because the changing, the feeling that arise among 5 people. The first one is myself, it's okay, and then I feel warmer toward number 2 and number 3. Number 4, the feeling shift a little bit to strange because it's a
Yeah.
neutral person, and I happen to pick a random person. And then the last one, because I had some resentment
Yeah.
toward that person, so the mind shift against to the 5th person. So every time I change the person,
Yeah.
it's harder to go back to the settled, like the calm mind to radiate loving kindness toward them, because my mind keeps changing
Yeah,
every
that's
5
quite
times.
natural and normal. That's a good question. He's saying that when he changes from one person to the next one, then the state of mind changes. So when he's dealing with the dear and respected person and the close person, then he has a happy, calm mind. But when it turns to the neutral person, and then it becomes more, the mind starts to get a bit unsettled. And when he turns to the disagreeable person, then the mind gets more troubled. I mean, that's quite natural and normal. Sort of the ideal, sort of that we're aiming at, is to be able to have the mind of equality towards all of them, to be able to send the same quality of loving kindness, whether it's the dear person or the hostile person, to see them all as people, human beings who have the same basic urge to live, to thrive, to be well, to be happy, to avoid all harm. But naturally, as we're in early stages in our practice, there's going to be those differences. So don't worry about it and think that I just started to practice and I don't yet have the mind of a Buddha or a Bodhisattva. Okay, I think we're going to have to start. Was there somebody that I missed? Oh, okay. We'll take one more then over here.
Thank you, Bhante. Obviously, this goes back to the Metta Sutta, the practice we're doing, but the actual style, the concentric circles building out, is that mentioned in the canon, or is it in the commentary?
Yeah, one finds that in the Visuddhimagga, in the description of the metta.
Okay, thank you.
The sort of what I call the geographical expansion.
Right.
Yeah, in the suttas, you just get directional pervasion. But I find it easier myself to use the expanding geographical regions. When I try to do the directions, at a later stage I could do it, but initially I just get a sense of directions, not living beings. Okay, so maybe we should do a little bending and stretching, a couple of minutes, since we've been sitting and talking. Okay. Let's sit down now. Okay, we will start then. You take a comfortable sitting position that enables you to sit firmly, steadily. And as I said, if you are experiencing pain in the legs, you don't have to have any hesitation about changing the position. And so start by settling into the body. Then you can let the mindfulness move to the region of the heart. Settling into that region, the area where if you attend closely, you can detect this kind of warm, soft, gentle feeling. And then we are going to be moving through first the individuals, and then broadening and universalizing the metta. And so we each start off with ourself. You take yourself as the recipient of a loving kindness. And then you direct towards yourself from the base of the heart the wish, may I be well, that is healthy of body and mind. May I be truly and deeply happy. And may I be safe from all harm and danger. And you could use those phrases in whatever way you find most helpful in generating that feeling of goodwill towards yourself. Now you take the dear and respected person, bring them to mind, and again you generate the same good wishes towards them. Okay, now you bring in the very close person. Okay, now you bring in the neutral person, the acquaintance, and then cautiously you bring in the disagreeable person. But if you really have a lot of trouble with that person, trying to develop metta toward that person, then you can go back and use this period for the neutral, for the acquaintance. Try your best to develop the loving kindness to the disagreeable person. Okay, now we're going to begin the expansion of loving kindness. And so we could start off by taking the entire group of people in this meditation hall. You don't focus on them individually, but bring them all as a group into the sphere of the mind. And then from the heart, you generate the wish. May all the people in this hall, may they all be well. May they all be truly happy. And may they be safe from all harm and danger. And now you extend the range of the metta, the loving kindness. You could take in the entire volunteer staff who are helping to prepare the meals and to clean up, and the visitors to the monastery, just the tourists who are wandering the grounds, the office staff, so everybody on the premises of Chuangyan, you extend the loving kindness to them. Okay, now you could take in the population, the entire population of the city or town in which you're living. Bring the entire population into your mind. Sometimes it's helpful to recognize that amongst these thousands and millions of people, each one is a person just like yourself, just like myself, with the same basic wishes. And on that basis, you can develop the wish for them to be well, happy, and safe. Okay, now you take the entire population of the country in which you're living, and you just take the population just as one whole block. You don't focus in on like disagreeable politicians, gun manufacturers, polluters, and so on, but you just take people just as one comprehensive block, the entire population, and then to all of them you generate the wish, may all of the people in this country be well, may they be truly, inwardly, deeply happy, and may they be safe from all harm and danger. Okay, now we've broadened the range of a loving kindness still more, still further, to take in the entire human population of the earth, people in every country, every continent, every nationality, race, religion. Bring them all into the mind, and then from the heart you generate the same wishes. Okay, and then we shift the focus of our loving kindness from the human beings to the animal realm. And you might find it easiest to start with some gentle animals like deer or rabbits, pet animals, but then expand it to cover all the animals. Okay, then finally, we extend the loving kindness without any differentiation, without any distinctions, sending the loving kindness to all sentient beings in all the different realms of existence, in all the galaxies throughout the universe. So you don't focus on any type of being, but just generate the wish, may all beings be well, may they all be happy, may they all be safe. Okay, now you drop all the conceptual formulations and you bring the mindfulness back to the body in the sitting position. Simply mindful of sitting, sitting. Then you can take a couple of deep mindful breaths, in and out, in and out. And then you can open the eyes and end the session in the usual way by stimulating the circulation. Okay, so now we have a period of the walking meditation. And again, you do the walking, within the walking meditation, you do the loving kindness. Again, you do it in the general way. As I said in the morning, with the right step, may all beings be well. The left step, may all beings be happy. Just keep on doing it like that. And that will be until 3:30 we come back to the seat. And I think the next period also, though I had in the schedule to introduce the 32 parts meditation, I think we'll continue that period with the metta meditation and then just do short exposure to the 32 parts meditation in the evening sessions. Otherwise it gets too crowded with too many different quick changes of subject. Okay, so we can move out now. Okay, so we can settle in for now for the next session. And now we're going to be doing the universalization of the loving kindness in a somewhat different way than we did earlier. This is going to be by way of by way of continents, directing the loving kindness to continent after continent after continent. And yeah, so this way you get to cover the entire globe. And maybe there's a tendency, I mean, it's okay if you do this, if we focus in, I'm not going to mention out loud, but you might want to direct your mind when I mention each continent to particular troubled areas within that continent. Some continents are very troubled, others less so. Okay, so let us take the congenial sitting position. You could settle in through first establishing mindfulness in the body. Then you can move the focus to the heart base. Settle the mind in that region. And so now we begin with North America. So this will comprise Canada, the United States, Mexico. So we take all of the people in this continent of North America. People of many different origins, the indigenous residents, and then people from all other ethnicities and so on, but all living in North America. We bring them into the mind, and then from the heart we generate the deep wish. May all the people living in North America be well. May they be truly happy. And may they be safe from all harm and danger. Okay, then we move down south and we'll take in Central America and South America. Many countries, many types of peoples, but we bring them all in collectively into our hearts, including the islands of the Caribbean, the people of the Caribbean islands. Take them all in, and there we generate the wish, may all of the people of this vast region, may they all be well, may they all live happily, may they all be safe from harm and danger. Okay, now we go across to Europe, and we take the entire population of all of the European countries, including the United Kingdom and the continental countries. Again, just bring the people from all the different countries, nationalities, and so on. Bring them all into the heart, and there we generate the wish. May all of the peoples living in Europe be well, may they be truly happy, and may they be safe from all harm and danger. If any trouble spots come to mind, you could focus on those troubled areas. Remember, it's the loving kindness, which is the wish for the well-being and happiness, not the karuna or compassion. That's good, of course, but now we're doing the metta. Okay, now we move the mind down beneath the Mediterranean. We come to the African continent. Again, many countries, many peoples. We bring them all together into the range of the mind, into the heart. And then we generate the wish, may all of the peoples of Africa be well, may they be truly happy, may they be safe from all harm and danger. Okay, now we could focus on the Mideast. Just a few countries, but a perpetually troubled area. So we generate the thought, may all of the peoples of the Mideast be well, truly happy and safe. Okay, then we take in next the entire Asian continent. Again, many countries and very distinct peoples and cultures. We bring them all in, all into the range of the mind. Then from the heart, we generate the wish. May all of the diverse peoples of Asia be well and truly happy. And may they be free from all harm and danger. Okay, then next we take, combining them, Australia, New Zealand, and then these small Pacific islands, like Tuvalu, Marshall Islands, all of these little island nations, which are really in danger of being swallowed up through the rising ocean. And now we generate the wish, may all of the people, we'll call this whole area Oceania, may all of the people in Oceania be well, happy, and safe. And then next we spread the mind over the entire human population of the earth, simultaneously taking people in every country, every continent. And then in the same way, we generate the loving kindness to them collectively. And next, we spread the loving kindness from the human realm to all sentient beings in every realm of existence. Just generating the wish, may all beings be well. May they all be truly happy. May they be safe from all harm and danger. Okay, now you can let go of all the mental formations. Bring the mind back to the body in the sitting position. Then take a couple of deep mindful breaths. And then break the posture and open your eyes. I hope everybody enjoyed that free trip. No visas necessary. No, no hassle at airports. Okay, we'll take a break now. Let's see what the schedule is. Okay, so be back at 4:30, and then I think we have the Dharma talk.
喂，麦克风先，喂。
Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. Should I begin? Okay. Okay, so I'll start with the salutation to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened one. Okay, so I'm continuing with the series of talks that I started yesterday, and these are on the 4 factors for stream entry, but not only for stream entry, but for all of the higher stages of realization, and even without attaining those stages, for obtaining wisdom, for the growth of wisdom, the expansion of wisdom, and even 4 things that are helpful for any human being. And those 4 things are association with good persons or true persons, hearing the good Dharma, then yoniso manasikara, translated here as careful attention, and then practice in accordance with the Dhamma, which occurs in our chant that we do in the morning and evening, Imaya Dhammano Dhamma Patipattiya. By this practice in accordance with the Dhamma, I worship the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha. Okay, so yesterday I did association with good persons, and today I'm going to try to get in the middle 2 factors, hearing the good Dharma and careful attention. Though each one really requires a session of its own. And then I've collected a number of texts which relate to each of these topics. And we saw yesterday in this chain of conditions that occurs in the Anguttara Nikaya that we have association with good persons has the benefit of enabling you to hear the good Dharma. And then eventually from hearing the good Dharma comes careful attention. And so now we are taking up hearing the good Dharma. And then there's a sutta which speaks about the benefits of listening to the Dhamma. So some of these seem obvious, but one thing that has to be said, very important, that is not mentioned in the suttas, because the suttas do not envisage a literate culture in which we can get access to the Dhamma through books, much less do they envisage an electronic culture in which you can listen to the Dhamma through just sitting at home in your computer and clicking the certain websites, and then you have whole variety of Dhamma talks. So in ancient India, when you want to learn the Dhamma, there's only one way to do it, and that is to go to places where the Dhamma is being taught, where it's being preached, and to sit down in the audience and listen to a person who is speaking the Dhamma. Okay, so that maybe is why the suttas or the Buddha places so much emphasis on listening to the Dhamma. But it might also be the case that when you go to listen to the Dhamma in person, it has some benefits that you can simply get from reading it in books or even from watching videos on YouTube or other sources. But anyway, this is a sutta or a passage which speaks about the benefits of listening to the Dhamma, put very concisely, that one gets to hear what one has not heard before. So many teachings, you just, nowadays I want to find information on a particular topic. Not only do I have access to a book, but the book has an index. So I want to learn more, say, about the 5 aggregates, so I go to my translation of the Samyutta Nikaya, Connected Discourses of the Buddha. I look in the table of contents, there's a chapter on the 5 aggregates. In other collections, I look in the index, and there I can get so much information. But now to expand your knowledge in ancient India, you have to go to listen, so you get to hear what you have not heard before. And then you get to clarify what you're already familiar with. Maybe you've already heard the presentation of a teaching from one point of view. Now you go to listen to a Dhamma talk, which is going to cover the same topic, but the speaker will present his or her own interpretation. So you get a new perspective on the teaching. So you can clarify what you're already familiar with, get to see it, maybe more deeply from different points of view. And even what's an interesting facet of the suttas, of the Nikayas, is that what we find is that a subject that is treated very concisely in one place is treated in more detail in another place. So in the formulation of the Noble Eightfold Path, the Buddha says, what is right mindfulness? Here, a monk dwells contemplating the body and the body, feelings and feelings, mind states and mind states, dhammas and dhammas, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, having put away craving and aversion towards the world. And that's it. But what is entailed by these 4 modes of contemplation? And for that, you go to the Satipatthana Sutta, where you get it expounded in detail. But if you're in ancient India, you hear a monk maybe giving a talk on the Noble Eightfold Path. So he gives that definition of right mindfulness, but you don't really know what is meant. But then you get to hear another talk in which the speaker elaborates using the sutta on the foundations of mindfulness as a topic. So you get to expand your knowledge of what you're already familiar with. Then you get to dispel your doubts and confusion. Often, when you go to listen to the Dhamma, the speaker will say, if anybody has any questions, then ask the questions, and then you have a chance to clear up your confusion, your doubts. And naturally, when you get to listen to the Dhamma, then you can straighten out your understanding, particularly when the talk is about certain deep or major topics. And so you get to deepen and clarify your understanding. And then this is interesting benefit, that the mind becomes calm. Maybe if the speaker has too soft and gentle a voice, the mind gets calm and calm and calm until it dozes off. So you have to balance calmness with alertness. Because if you doze off, then you fall into the category. There are actually two collections. Actually, I like the other simile better. This one is canonical. The other, I don't know where the origin is. It seems as though it should have come from the Anguttara Nikaya, but it's not there. I saw it in Venerable Yinshun's book, Chung Forger Dao, but I think Venerable Yinshun has gotten it from some other source. Anyway, it speaks about 4 kinds of bowls. So there is, and these are bowls which are being used to collect water, rainwater, to use for drinking. And so you have a bowl turned upside down. This is the inverted bowl. And then when it rains, the water doesn't enter the bowl. And this is like a person who goes to listen to the Dhamma talk, but they don't pay attention. They are, the speaker is going on, and they are going through what's the news, gotta get an email. I don't know how Instagram works. Do I get posts on Instagram? Let me put something in Twitter, some comments on the talk. Okay, so that's like the person who doesn't pay attention to the talk. Okay, then there's the bowl with cracks and holes. So this is like a person who listens, but listens with a scattered mind. Okay, then there's the bowl, but it has, at the bottom of the bowl, there's been some accumulation of dirt and maybe some toxic substances, and then the rainwater gets maybe channeled into the bowl to collect it for drinking, but you don't want to use that water for drinking because it's dirty and maybe even poisonous. And so this is like a person who listens, but listens with a hostile mind, not with an open and receptive mind. So the person who is looking to find faults with the speaker and with the teaching. Of course, you have to have a critical mind when you listen. So if you hear the speaker expounding the Dhamma wrongly, then of course you can be critical of the teaching. But this is a person whose intention from the outset is just to find faults with the teaching. Even if it's the most excellent Dhamma talk, but they find something to complain about, some way to attack the speaker and the teaching. And then the desirable bowl, the bowl that we can effectively collect the water for drinking. This is a bowl which is upright, without cracks, and with a clean interior. So this is like a person who pays attention, who listens with a focused mind, not a distracted mind, and then listens with respect and the desire to learn. So that's the very important quality, is that desire to learn. And what's very useful when listening to Dhamma talks, maybe at home or in a classroom situation, is a little difficult here in a meditation hall like this. When you're listening to Dhamma talks or reading Dhamma books, particularly when reading the canonical text, to take notes on the important points. And that helps you to preserve what you've learned. In ancient India, because it was a pre-literate culture, people's minds were naturally much more retentive than our own minds. Now we're sort of spoiled because we always rely on the printed words, on books, and so we lose that capacity to remember. So now, if you really want to learn well, it's good to take notes and to systematize your notes, to arrange them in some kind of systematic form. And that way you get a more comprehensive view of the teaching, a clearer understanding. Yeah, and then this is something of an elaboration on the point that was made in the simile of the bowl, simile of the bowls. Here, the sutta speaks about the wrong ways to listen to the Dhamma. So this elaborates on what was said just above. So you disparage the speaker. You think negative thoughts about the speaker. You go to listen, but your intention is to start finding faults with the speaker. Then you disparage yourself. So you have a sort of negative, self-depreciating attitude towards yourself. Oh, I can't understand anything. Oh, I'm just not capable. Oh, this Dhamma too difficult for me. I just don't have the merits to understand the Dhamma. So you disparage yourself, and if you have that negative attitude towards yourself, then you're not going to be able to learn. So you have to have a positive attitude, even if you think this Dhamma is very deep and my capacity is very shallow, but still I'll try to pick up whatever I can and improve myself. Okay, then you disparage the talk. We already are sort of in line with disparaging the speaker. And then you don't have wisdom. But I think you always have to think you have, at least as a human being, some seed of wisdom. And then the fifth, this is a big obstacle, especially nowadays when I have to say everybody becomes the expert on the Dhamma. Why are you laughing? The people who imagine that they've understood what they haven't understood. So this, you come in to listen to the talk and your mind is sort of swollen with conceit. I'm the expert. And then as the antidote to that are some of the right ways to listen to the Dhamma. And so you don't disparage the speaker. You don't disparage yourself. You have to have that positive attitude towards yourself, thinking even if I understand a little, that is good. That makes it worthwhile. You don't disparage the talk. Of course, if the talk is really bad, distorting the Dhamma, then you can be critical of it. But you don't do this with this kind of arrogant attitude or the aggressive, hostile attitude of going just for the purpose of putting down the talk. And then you have wisdom, you're intelligent, you're astute. And then you have this, I call this the receptive attitude, an open attitude, so that you don't imagine that you know what you don't know, but you're willing to learn new things. Okay, this is an interesting point, and it seems that in the suttas we could see even the Buddha laying down in this very concise passage. I would call this a kind of pedagogy, that is a system of education. So he speaks about the disciple has learned much. And the word for learning much, Bahusutta, literally means that one has listened to much, because you learn the Dhamma by listening to it. Then you remember what you have heard. So in the ancient times, as I said, people had good retentive capacities, but now to remember what you hear, the most effective way is taking notes. And then to imprint the teaching on the memory to make sure you retain it and preserve it. In ancient times, and even today in monastic quarters, this is what is done, to recite it verbally. So in countries like Burma, Sri Lanka, in the evening, the monks walk back and forth outside their residence, repeatedly reciting the text that they've learned during the day, and making sure that it remains in the mind. And then you examine it with the intellect, and then penetrate it with insight. And so the way I see that these factors even correspond to the factors of stream entry. So the first three, learning much, remembering it, reciting it verbally, all could be brought under listening to the Dhamma. Then examining it intellectually could correspond to careful attention. And then penetrating it with insight can correspond to the insight that arises from practicing in line with the Dhamma. Yeah, then there's a sutta which speaks about how it's possible to attain stream entry even while listening to the Dhamma. So this is while listening to the good Dhamma, one is capable of entering upon, it's technically called the fixed course of rightness and wholesome qualities, but it means the path, the irreversible path to stream entry. So what are these six? When the Dhamma and discipline taught by the Buddha or proclaimed by the Buddha is being taught, one is eager to listen, then one lends an ear, that is, one listens carefully and thoroughly, one sets one's mind on understanding, one is keen to understand, and so one is examining when examining the teaching, while one is listening to it, then one grasps the meaning and one discards what is not the meaning, maybe what is not so essential, so that one focuses on the core meaning, and then one gains an understanding or an insight that's in conformity with the teaching. And so one sees in the suttas, we see fairly often that the Buddha is speaking to a group of people, and he's sort of looking at their minds while he's speaking, and he'll see somebody in the audience, and he realizes that person has the potential for stream entry or higher states. And so when he knows that when that person's mind is ready, when the hindrances have subsided and they've placed trust in the Buddha, then the Buddha will speak about the Four Noble Truths formulated in just the right way for that person. And you see the text says, while so-and-so was sitting there arose in him the dustless, spotless eye of Dhamma, the eye which sees into the truth of the teaching. So the person it's not going through rigorous meditation 20 hours a day, but of course they have some kind of accumulations, but just through hearing the Dhamma, when all conditions come together, they can make that breakthrough and gain the eye of the Dhamma. This was the example of it. I forgot that I included it. This is in regard to a householder named Upali. So when the Buddha knows that Upali's mind was ready, receptive, free from hindrances, he explains the Four Noble Truths. And then just as a clean cloth will take dye evenly, so while Upali was sitting there, the spotless, immaculate eye of the Dhamma arose in him. And then the householder Upali saw the Dhamma, attained the Dhamma, understood the Dhamma, fathomed the Dhamma. He became independent of others in the Buddha's teaching. And then what does he say next? Now, Bhante, I have to go. I'm busy and I have a lot to do. Okay, then we come to the next factor for stream entry, which is called Yoniso Manasikara. That's a word a bit difficult. Let's say that there are many possible translations of it. The word yoni, one of the senses is the womb, and the womb is the origin of course, of a living being. And so yoniso is maybe has the nuance of going deeply into the origin of things. So you could say deep attention, but also it has the nuance of thorough attention, careful attention, wise attention, or it could even be wise reflection. And it seems to me that yoniso manasikara is the kind of work of intellectual reflection, examination, investigation, which works upon the Dhamma that you've heard by listening to the Dhamma, and then transforms the Dhamma from something external that you've just heard and learned into something that you sort of absorb into your being by getting a clear, thorough, and accurate understanding of it. There was a good quotation there was a Thai, very well-known Thai scholar monk named Payutto, and he gives, I found this a very helpful explanation of the role of yoniso manasikara. He says yoniso manasikara acts as a link between sati, mindfulness, and panya, wisdom. It is that which guides the stream of thought in such a way that wisdom is able to get down to work and achieve results. It is that which provides wisdom with its method. It's the skillful means employed in the efficacious, that's the effective use of wisdom. And the term implies both reflection and wisdom, so we can call it wise reflection. And we see the operation of yoniso manasikara in at least one of the accounts of the Buddha's enlightenment. Often we see in some of the accounts, it seems that the Buddha just sits down under the Bodhi tree, goes through the 4 jhanas, then he acquires the 3 higher knowledges, and then he's liberated. But there are other suttas which show how the Buddha used that process of intellectual reflection, deep examination, in order to get the clear understanding of those dhammas, the principles that form the framework of his teaching. So he explains here, this is from Samyutta Nikaya. It says, before his enlightenment, he reflects that this world has fallen into trouble, it is born, grows old and dies, people pass away and reborn, but they don't know the escape from the suffering of old age and death. What is the escape from the suffering of old age and death? Then he says, then it occurred to me, when what exists does old age and death come to be? By what is old age and death conditioned? And then he says, through yoniso manasikara, thorough attention, there took place in me a breakthrough by wisdom. So the breakthrough is this abhisamaya, seeing into the truth. And that instrument for seeing into the truth is panya, wisdom. But for that wisdom to arise, it needs the work of thorough attention or wise reflection, yoniso manasikara. And so in this way, the Buddha traces back the chain of dependent origination from old age and death through birth, and then takes it all the ways down to the first factor of ignorance as the condition for the volitional formations. Yeah, so it says, and then comes through thorough attention, there comes the breakthrough into the cessation side of dependent origination. With the cessation of birth, there's cessation of old age and death. And so then after going through that process of yoniso manasikara, tracing the entire chain of conditions, then in regard to both origination and cessation, he says, the I arose in me, knowledge arose, wisdom arose, clear knowledge arose, light arose. Yeah, then I took another very short statement which speaks of two conditions for the arising of right view. And this is the world transcending right view, the liberating right view. So the two conditions, one is the voice of another. It's a strange expression here, but what's entailed is listening to the Dhamma, that you hear the Dhamma from another person. It's always the case that those who become disciples have to hear the Dhamma from somebody else. Only the Buddhas arouse the Dhamma, the understanding of the Dhamma on their own without hearing it from another person. But for others, one has to hear the Dhamma, listen to the Dhamma from another, and then apply yoniso manasikara. And then there's a little sutta which says that just as the dawn is the forerunner for the arising of the sun, just so thorough attention is the forerunner for the arising of the Noble Eightfold Path. So the first factor of the Eightfold Path is samaditi, right view, and right view arises through the work of yoniso manasikara, wise reflection on the teaching of the Dhamma that one hears from another. Yeah, then yoniso manasikara plays an important role in regard to samatha meditation or tranquility meditation, in that it helps in the removing of the 5 hindrances. Though also, since the 5 hindrances are the obstacles to both samatha and vipassana, so we could say that yoniso manasikara is helpful for both types of meditation. So there's a series of suttas which speak about first hindrance is sensual desire. So what is the antidote to sensual desire? That which prevents sensual desire from arising and expanding. And then the antidote is the sign of the unattractive or an unattractive object. And then frequently giving careful attention or applying yoniso manasikara to this unattractive object, which really refers to the meditation on the 32 parts of the body. So it's the systematic meditation on the parts of the body, the unattractive nature of the body, that is the antidote to sensual desire. And then in regard to ill will, so what is the trigger that starts off ill will? It's maybe a person, a disagreeable person, a repugnant person, an aggressive person. And so what is the antidote to ill will? It is the liberation of the mind through loving kindness. And then it's by frequently giving careful attention to this practice of loving kindness that one can remove arisen ill will and prevent ill will from arising in the future. Yeah, I don't have to go through all the details here, but we could see that careful attention applies to the other hindrances as well, to removing sloth and torpor, to removing restlessness and remorse. And then in regard to doubt, here it seems that Yoniso Manasikara plays a very important role. So what is the antidote to doubt? And here the text says that there are wholesome and unwholesome states, good and bad states, blamable and blameless states, and so on. And frequently giving careful attention to them, being able to distinguish what is good, what is bad, what is wholesome, what nurtures the mind, what causes the mind to decline and deteriorate. So when you understand that, at least this is the elementary kind of doubt about the distinction of wholesome and unwholesome qualities. So giving careful attention to these distinctions is the antidote to doubt. And then similarly, in regard to the 7 enlightenment factors, careful attention, Yoniso Manasikara, also plays an important role in giving rise to the enlightenment factors when they have not yet arisen, and strengthening them when they have arisen. If you want to find the details, then you can go to Samyutta Nikaya, Sutta number 46. Chapter 46, Sutta number 51. And then Yoniso Manasikara also serves in removing the 3 unwholesome roots. And maybe I'll skip over this, but maybe not. Okay, so here the text is explaining what is the reason why these unwholesome roots, lust, hatred, and delusion arise. Okay, in the case of lust, what causes lust to arise and grow stronger is unwise attention, careless attention to an attractive object. So you grasp the superficial features of an attractive object, something that appears beautiful, and the mind dwells on those features, and that causes, could be sexual lust, or if other material objects, attachment, greed, craving to arise through this careless attention. And then why does hatred arise, ill will or hatred? It arises from a repulsive object, and you attend unwisely to the repulsive object, focusing upon the disagreeable, repulsive aspects of those objects. And then hatred or ill will arises. And what causes delusion to arise is simply careless attention. And so the antidote, according to this sutta, is to attend with Yoniso Manasikara to the unattractive object, to apply Yoniso Manasikara to the development of loving kindness, to remove hatred. And then the antidote to delusion is simply careful attention. So careful attention, particularly to those maybe teachings that form the domain of wisdom. That is what dispels delusion and gives rise to wisdom. And then I set down some of these domains of reflection to which one applies yoniso manasikara. So we have yoniso manasikara can be applied to dependent origination. Here the Buddha says to Anathapindika, he says that the noble disciple attends wisely or attends thoroughly to dependent origination. And then he goes through the whole formula. And then one applies yoniso manasikara to the 5 aggregates. And this is a sutta, it doesn't actually use the expression yoniso manasikara, but it uses carefully investigating, but it seems to be just another expression for yoniso manasikara. And so here the Buddha uses the simile of the lump of foam is floating down the Ganges River, and then a person with good sight examines that lump of foam and carefully investigates it and sees that the lump of foam is empty, hollow, without any substance. And so too, in regard to material form, the material form of the body, or even external physical material objects, the monk inspects it, ponders it, and carefully investigates it. And it appears to be void or empty, hollow, and insubstantial. So in this way, through yoniso manasikara, one can get to see the empty nature, the insubstantial nature of the 5 aggregates. Well, if that's in regard to material form, then feeling one investigates to be like a water bubble. Perception is like a mirage. The mental formations, when you investigate, they're like a banana tree trunk, just layer upon layer upon layer, but no solid core inside. And consciousness is like a magical illusion. So when you investigate them with yoniso manasikara, they all turn out to be void, hollow, insubstantial. And then the Buddha says also the 4 noble truths were to investigate with yoniso manasikara. So he says that the wise, noble disciple attends with yoniso manasikara. This is suffering, this is its origin, this is its cessation, and that is the path. And when he attends wisely in this way, then the 3 lower fetters are abandoned. That is the view of self-doubt and the blind clinging to rules and observances. And so in this way, we cover yoniso manasikara, which the way Payutto explains it, it is that bridge that connects mindfulness with wisdom. Or we could say it's the intellectual work or the cognitive work, conceptual work that forms the foundation for panya or wisdom to arise, directly seeing the principles explored with yoniso manasikara. Okay, so maybe that will do for my talk this evening. And let us take a little break to get some fresh air. We'll come back for the chanting 520. Okay, are we ready to begin? Okay, so we can do three bows. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And let me make it full screen. Okay, so we start off. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Iti piso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vijacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu Anuttaro Purisa Dhamma Sarati Satta Deva Manusanang Buddho Bhagavati Namo Tassa Samma Sambuddhassa Ye cha Buddha atita cha Ye cha Buddha anagata Pajupanna cha Ye Buddha Aham vandami sabada Nati me saranam manyang Buddho me saranam varang etena sajavajena hotu me jaya mangalang uttamangena vandeham padapangsu varuttamang Buddhayo kalito doso Buddho kamadutam mamang Buddham yavanibana pariyantam saranam gacchami. And then we bow. And homage to the Dhamma. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditiko Akaliko Ehipasiko Opanayako Pachatang Vetitabo Vinyuhiti Namo tassa niyanika dhammasa ye cha dhamma atita cha ye cha dhamma anagata pajupanna cha ye dhamma Aham vandami sabada Nati me saranam manyang Dhammo me saranam varang Etena sachavajena Hotu me jaya mangalang Uttamangena vandeham Dhammam jati vidam varang Dhammeyo kalito doso Dhammo kamadu dhammamang Dhammang yavani panapariyantam saranam gacchami. Now we do a bow to the Dhamma. Homage to the Sangha. Supatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho. Ujupatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho. Nyayapatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho. Samicchipatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho. Yadidam chattari purisa yugani atta purisa pugala esa bhagavato savaka sangho. Ahuneyo pahuneyo dakineyo anjali karaniyo anuttaram punya ketang lokasati. Namo tassa ariya pugala mahasangasa ye cha sangha atita cha ye cha sangha anagata pajupanna cha ye sangha aham vandami sabada nati me saranam manyang sangho me saranam varang etena satchavachena hotu me jaya mangalam uttamangena vandeham Jatuviduttamang Sangheyo kalito doso Sangho kamatu Sangang yavani panapariyantang saranam gacchami. Homage to the three symbols. Vandami chetiyang sabang sabatane supatiti tang saririkadatu mahabodhing buddharupang sakalang sada. Emaya dhammanu dhammapatipattiya buddham pujemi. Emaya dhammanu dhammapatipattiya dhammam pujemi. Imaya dhammanu dhammapatipattiya sangham pujemi. Okay, now we go to the Metta Sutta, which is on page 8. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Karaniyamatta kusalena yang tang santang padang abhisamecha. Sako ujucha sujucha suvachocha samudu anatimani. Santu sakocha subarocha apakicho jasalahukavuti. Santindriyocha nipakocha apagabo kulesu anugito. Nacha kudang samachare kinchi. Yena vinyupare upavadeyung. Sukino va kemino hontu. Sabbe sata bhavantu sukhitata. Ye kechipana bhutati. Tasa anavasesa. Digavaye mahantava majima rasakanukatula. Ditavayeva adita ye chadure vasanti avidure. Bhutava sambhave siva. Sabbe sata bhavantu sukhitata. Naparo parang nikubeta. Nati manyeta katachinam kanchi. Pyaro sanapatika sanya. Nanya manya sadukamicheya. Matayata niyamputam ayusa ekaputam anurake. Evam pisababhutesu manasam bhavaye parimanam. Metantra sabalokasmin manasam bhavaye aparimanam. Udam adojatiriyancha asambadam averang asapatam. Titang charang nisinova. Sayanuva yavatasa vikatamito. Etang sating aditeya. Brahmametang viharang idamahu. Ditin cha anupagamma silava. Dasanena sampanno. Kame suvineya gedang. Nahi jatu gapaseyang. Punaretiti. Etena sachavajena. Soti te hotu sabada. Etena sachavajena. Sabarogo vinasatu. Etena sachavajena. Hotu te jayamangalam. Sabityo vivajantu. Sabarogo vinasatu. Mate bhavatu antarayo. Sukhiti gayuko bhava. Bhavatu sabha mangalam. Rakantu Sabba Devata Sabbatammanubhavena Sada Soti Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sabba Mangalang Rakantu Sabba Devata Sabba Sanganubhavena Sada Soti Bhavantu Te. Go on, go on. Akasata Chabumata Devanagamahitika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakantu Sasanam Akasata Chabumata Devanagamahitika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakantu Desanam Akasata Chabumata Devanagamahitika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakantu Mang Parang. Emina Punya Kamena Mame Bala Samagamo Satang Samagamo Hotu Yavanibana Patiya Idang Me Punyang Asavakaya Vahang Hotu Sabadukha Pamuchatu. They go sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Now we could end with 3 full formal bows.
First bow. Half bow. Bow to Bande.